Hey out there, and right now we're going to do a small segment on Lisa Cooks, aka Lisa the Crook of the Federal Reserve, and how she is actually manipulating, kind of like everybody else, Adam Schiff and her and Letitia James. I've never seen so many people that are fraudulent with their financial paperwork for housing in my life, and yet they're still walking around free as a bird. I mean, any of us out there in internet land would try that. We either be paying some serious fines or looking behind, basically behind bars for a
Right.
couple months, wondering what happened.
And
But I will let Sheila get into more of the details. But that's what this little segment's about.
I really think that some of this, they allow these people to get away with this because we know that Jeffrey Epstein was a blackmail honeypot
Hmm.
thing. So some people could be blackmailed using um, little girls and
Ugh,
boys.
that's
And
even worse. But
yeah,
yeah,
other
gross.
people are blackmailed with their greed or their thirst for power. So you're going to find that a lot of these people are motivated to do things because of one thing or another. They always have something over these people. So for Lisa Cook, I believe that her motivation, and I do believe, if you're getting something out of being on a board or out of supporting these people and it's making you rich, then why would you stop?
Yeah, I mean, a
If
lot of
you if
people
you
joined
have
up in
a compromised
the
character.
government, like, oh, I'm here to do well, and then for whatever reason, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Same with positions of power and finance, and they just don't care. They're corrupted, and they never suffer the ill will. They never get exposed. Everything's washed under the rug, and it's been like this now since probably I would say the late '70s, early '80s, and other than a few people who really, really messed up and were exposed, aka like what was that company? Remember they had the Greek columns, they had that party. What was it called now? God. Not Exxon, it was something Enron. Enron. All right, yeah.
Enron, yes,
Enron. I mean,
Enron.
yeah, they hung those guys to the stakes and lit it on fire. Same thing with like if you guys live in the East Coast, you would remember this. You might not, Sheila. You lived in the Midwest, but Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane. He was like this guy that had all these like appliances and stuff. He was a total crook, but he felt entitled, and he had like I don't know 300 stores, and he went around forever as Crazy Eddie. He was like this little Jewish guy, and in the end they pinned him to the floorboard and shut him off. But it took certain, like, I guess you could say, people being thrown to the wolves to make examples. But there were so many people that hid in the background and the shadows that Clintons are one of them with their foundation that never were held accountable for anything.
Right. And I do think that the reason why this machine works, like Chad and I do genuinely believe there is a deep state.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think part of the way that they function is if you notice, um, I've always thought it was odd that Hollywood is in such lockstep with the Democrats, and that can't be organic. That can't be organic. And you're finding with this Diddy lawsuit, I feel that some of these are sham show trials. Like that man should have gotten a
Oh,
lot
he should
worse
have
than he
got way
got,
more than 2 years in the
and they
can. He's
really
trying to
didn't.
get out right now. It's a
Yeah,
joke.
they really didn't expose half of the crimes that he actually was accused of. But I think what they do is they allow certain people to get away with stuff, and then if they fall out of a line, they go, "Well, we got
Yeah.
this on you,
Well, yeah.
and now you're gonna pay the price." And so that's how you see people end up going to jail or get arrested or they're convicted for fraud or tax evasion or they got something on you, and it's not always
It's not always pretty.
related to
Yeah.
Diddy or Epstein.
And
It's
you know what's weird, especially because you mentioned Hollywood. Well, they say art imitates life. That's the saying. If you ever want to watch a really good movie, and it is a case of art imitating life, it's called L.A. Confidential. It's with Russell Crowe and Kim
Yeah, I remember that movie.
Basinger and oh god, I can't think of the guy's name, but you'd recognize the different actors that are in it. And it was all about pimping and whoring in Hollywood. Oh, Danny DeVito was in it too. He was a hush hush and on the
It's a
QT.
PG
He was a
show.
yeah. Well, sorry, But he was like the investigative reporter that had all the dirt on everybody. And all it was they were setting up blackmail against all these politicians and stars and people of power. And I mean, this movie was supposed to be based in like, I want to say like early 1950s,
I
late
think they
40s or
take
something.
elements of truth.
And
And it sounds so outrageous that you would just think it's just a
you would
great
think it was
storyline,
like, wow,
but
this is a really
that's
wild
what's
movie.
happening.
But it's the real deal, and it was happening, and it's still happening to this day. So yeah, you ever get a chance, check it out. But I really feel that that's what's out there.
So let's dig into Lisa Cook. So I just want to give you some preliminary dates, and then we're going to just get into the meat of what is going on with this woman. On June 18th, 2021, she signed documents on a property that allowed her to attest that a Michigan property was her primary residence. Literally 2 weeks later, on July 2nd, 2021, she purchased a condo in Atlanta and listed that as her primary residence.
Hmm.
Now, on June 14th of 2022, Biden nominated her for the Federal Reserve Board. Now, on May 23rd, 2022, she took office. So she officially took office in May, but she was nominated by Biden in January. On September 2022, she listed her Atlanta condo for rent. So she now was flipping it for a profit. So why is this a big deal? Because everything that she did is fraud. It's mortgage fraud. She did it knowing, like she locked in these. First of all, she locked in these two properties. And when you list something as your primary residence, you're getting taxed at a lower rate than you would if it was a secondary residence.
Correct. Yeah.
So as a result, she locked in both of these properties at a 3% rate.
That's nice, considering the rate right now is like 7%.
Right. So the two properties were purchased within 2 weeks of each other, and both she legally attested that they were her primary residences. For the purpose of attaining favorable interest rates at 3%, that would be her motive of why she did it. And then she flipped one property into an investment property, meaning she rented it out. And she never reported her income from that property in the 2022 to 2023 timeframe.
So she was pulling in at least 10 grand a year or more,
right,
on a property that she never claimed the income on, and she's the person running the Federal Reserve.
So that's a couple different kinds of fraud. That's mortgage fraud, and then that's tax evasion,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and she's on the Federal Reserve, so really, you can't really say you didn't know. I mean, what the heck?
Right?
Oh, come on.
So the alarming thing is, if you think about her being on the board of the Federal Reserve, they call these board members governors on the Federal Reserve, and they vote on the interest rates. So this woman voted 9 times to increase your interest rate. 9 times. She voted 9 times.
You sound like Ferris Bueller Day Off. 9 times.
Yeah.
But I don't remember being sick 9 times. I don't remember her raising that rate 9 times, but she did.
Yeah, and the argument could be made that maybe she made a mistake, maybe she oopsied, but it's really like the close proximity of the time where she bought those 2 residents doesn't make sense for that argument. And also, before she became the Federal Reserve Board governor, she was on the board for the Federal Reserve for Chicago, I believe.
Yeah, she was on some sort of financial board. I don't know all the details. I don't know.
It was the Chicago Reserve.
It was in Chicago, and I think it was the monetary oversight group for the city of Chicago.
And you have to be elected to that board.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like, you're like appointed or elected to like pick up trash in the city of Chicago. It's a position with a lot of responsibility, and hence that's how she became a governess, I guess you could call it. It's a governess, I don't know, of the Federal Reserve, appointed by Biden.
So technically,
so she had the qualification. Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of things that Biden appointed that maybe they didn't have the qualifications, but regardless, sounds like she had them, and they pointed her into the Federal Reserve.
So technically, she was she was qualified. She had the qualifications to get on the Federal Reserve Board, but these purchases were made before he nominated her. So
he should have done a better job of vetting.
Lied.
Yeah.
She lied on her affidavits. for
Yep.
these purchases and said they were both her primary residence. She got herself to in at a 3% fixed
Rate.
interest rate, and then she turned around and flipped one of them and didn't report the income all between 2022 and 2023. So
Jeez.
her not reporting the income was while she was probably the end of the time when she was in Chicago, and the rest of the time she was the Federal Reserve
Yeah, and it's
governor.
amazing that somebody had to have whitewashed this deal because
So these
those are
people,
glaring,
they
glaring
go over,
omissions
yeah,
that,
they go over,
yeah,
they look at you with a microscope. So you
yeah,
can't
fine
tell
tooth
me
comb.
that they didn't see this.
They had to have. There's no way. I mean, if you want to go even for a job with the government, you could just be a guy pushing a broom at the army base.
Right.
I'm just being like, some fort. And I mean, hell, they're going to put you through the ringer just to get a job for $22 an hour pushing a broom,
Right.
you know?
So say, Biden didn't know that this was going on. Let's
Well,
just
he
give
didn't
him
know a
the
lot of
benefit of the
things,
doubt. He
but
didn't know a lot of things, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't know. They go through a vetting process. They would have
somebody in his
found out.
administration should have caught it on the vetting, whether Biden's brain was like a soaked mop, which it is. But I mean, he does have staff that worked for him. Somebody should have caught this thing way before it got to where it was.
Right. So the director of federal housing put in a criminal referral for mortgage fraud on her, and rightly so, really. Now, what are the impacts of somebody like this? Like, we've established the fact that this was done knowingly. Like she knew what she was doing. It's obvious she knew what she was doing.
Oh,
She
yeah.
had she had a lot of experience on any kind of reserve board. Like this wasn't the first reserve board that she was on. So she
Yeah,
knew what
yeah.
she was doing. So she basically went out of her way to lock in low prices before she voted in these rate hikes, right? The height she voted in influenced borrowing rates, mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, and personal loans. Higher rates raised the cost of debt, reducing disposable income and purchasing power. High borrowing costs likely added 200 to 250 billion annually in interest payments across mortgages, auto loans, and consumer credit, assuming partial exposure to new rates. It also reduces household budgets, especially in lower to middle income families.
Yeah, she basically gamed the system for herself and crushed the people she was supposed to protect,
Right.
which was your lower income and middle class people.
So she was making money off of fraud, and she was both saving and making money while she was increasing the interest rates. She locked it in for herself nice and low and then jacked it
And
up on
then
everybody
punished
else.
everybody underneath her.
So let's
Sad.
see what are the ramifications of voting 9 times to
9
raise
times.
the interest rates. So it has an economic cost, 175 to 300 billion annually in lost GDP wages. Lower income groups were hit the hardest due to job market softening. As interest rates increased, the housing market decreased, resulting in loss of wealth for sellers and locked in homeowners with low rate mortgages. That limits their mobility. So if you have like a low mortgage rate and they jack it up and yours is so low, are you going to be anxious
Yeah,
to go
you're not
sell
you're
your
not looking to
house?
sell your house could be worth a fortune, but when you sell it, it's like, okay, I got to buy a new house now because that's the law too. You can't just like sell your house and be like, hey, cool, because you get whaled with taxes if you don't buy something within, I think it's like a year. So you have to go out there and buy something. But now, even if you downsize, your interest rate, unless you buy all cash, your interest rate is now instead of 3%, 7%. So you're kind of stuck. You're like, hey, I really want to sell my house and move to South Carolina or move to Arizona or Kentucky or wherever. And then you're like, yeah, but I can't because, and that's what her doing that did. It prevented mobility. It was a punishment on people
Right.
that wanted to be mobile.
Like if we have a 3% more in rate
Yeah.
on our mortgage, and our house is worth 400,000,
Yeah, like three or four
total,
hundred thousand
right?
dollars, and you don't really owe
So
anything, but you go and buy one.
so I'm gonna go buy a house now, but now, even though my house is worth 400,000 and it needs some work, but I can sell it, I'm gonna go buy this other house that's probably at equal or greater value, or maybe it's lesser value, or maybe it's
But
smaller but the same price.
the interest rate's gonna more than make up for it because
I might have
now
an
you're
interest
screwed.
rate of much higher than that. So
Yeah,
why would I
almost
why
double.
would I move?
Yeah, you're not. You're gonna sit there and take it.
So that's what it means by limiting mobility.
Mhm.
So household prices stagnated and even fell in some markets. For 70 million homeowners with an average of a $400,000 home, a 5% drop equates to a 1.4 trillion in loss of wealth. Rental market for the rental market, let's talk about like if you decided, well, I'm not going to buy a house, I can't afford to buy a house, interest is too high, I'm going to go rent an apartment. Well, look at this, look at these numbers. Yeah, the increase in rates increases rental demand, which pushes rents up 10% since 2022, adding 50 billion annually to renters' costs. So you're losing money there, even if you decide to rent. You're not going to buy a
Yeah, yeah,
house.
you're stuck in a vicious
Before, a home was an
cycle, yeah.
investment, and you would rent to sock away some money to buy, but you can't even do that anymore.
No, and the rent will basically cripple you from saving to buy a house anyway.
Right.
If you get into a rent, you're screwed.
In combined, the housing market affects likely costs Americans 1.5 trillion in wealth and 50 billion in higher rents annually, and it results in trillions of long-term debt. Think
Mhm.
about your credit card interest rates. Think about all of that stuff. Think about when your kids take out a school
Yeah,
loan.
school loan or car loan. I mean, cars. I
Auto
mean,
loans are
yeah,
ridiculous,
hell, it's insane. They want like 7-8% for a car.
right?
I mean,
So,
it's nuts.
and then I was just looking 2 days ago, the New York Times, they ran a hit piece calling Bill Poltick, he's the US director of the federal housing, the one that put in the criminal referral on Lisa Cook. They said he was racist because she is the first black woman to ever serve as the Fed governor. Well, I just, this woman has a very, very seedy character. It's
Yeah,
not about her being black. It's
I was
it's
gonna say
about her
I
being
really don't care
dishonest.
what color anybody is or what race they are or what their orientation. I really don't. To use the cops' words in Newport,
She broke the law.
I don't give a shit. But if they're a crook, they're a crook.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're the first whatever.
But since we're talking about character, let's talk about her academic prowess. She was caught in 2024 for plagiarizing her academic research on how popular certain names were in the black community. Like,
I'm just laughing.
can't you
I
just
mean,
research that? Why do you got to plagiarize it?
yeah, I mean,
She copied verbatim language from a previous paper by two authors by the name of Colomiris and Pritchett without using quotations or giving them credit in any
or
way.
footnotes, yeah. So she was a crook even then. So
Right.
there you go.
So that just kind of shows the caliber of this woman just doesn't have respect for other people, their work, their ethic, or anything. This woman has done everything she can do to better herself and her own best interest. And somebody like that shouldn't be on any type of director's board because they're not looking for the best interest of the company they're working for. And they're certainly not looking out for the best interests of interests of the American people that they're supposed to serve.
No, she was very mercenary. She was out for
Right.
herself. So
So in our last show, we were talking about her as an example of, I was comparing it to Joshua's taking of the town of Ai in ancient Israel, and how they couldn't take the town until they kind of searched out who disobeyed God's covenant and stole items from Jericho that were dedicated items. This is a woman that is essentially mortgage fraud and tax evasion, is stealing, plagiarizing somebody else's ideas is stealing. She kind of is this person in that Bible that was doing that, and it's time for these people to be exposed and held accountable.
and
And
removed.
real change can't happen until people actually see the extent of the rot within these organizations, especially the Federal Reserve. So that we're gonna just end it with that today,
Okay. Yeah.
and,
Sounds good.
we just thank you for tuning in for our quick
Yeah.
little
Hope you enjoyed the
study.
snippet, as they say.
We wanted to make it 10 minutes long, but,
That never happens
we
with us.
doubled it.
Yeah.
So, have a great, rest of your week, and we will see you next week.
Yeah.
We
Looking
look
forward to it.
forward to it. Thank
Take care,
you.
guys. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.